Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed thinkers, dreamers, and seekers of truth, welcome to this exploration of the human mind, a profound journey inspired by one of philosophy's greatest luminaries, John Locke. In his seminal work, an essay concerning human understanding, published in 1689, Locke invites us to question the very foundations of how we know what we know. Imagine the mind not as a pre-written book, but as an open landscape, waiting to be shaped by the winds of experience. Today, we embark on a philosophical odyssey, drawing from Locke's empiricist vision to uncover the role of experience and knowledge in sculpting the human soul. We'll traverse the idea of the mind as a blank slate, the alchemy of knowledge through sensation and reflection, the building blocks of ideas from simple to complex, the transformative power of education and environment, the intricate dance between knowledge, freedom, and responsibility. And finally, the critiques and enduring relevance of these ideas in our modern world. This is not merely a lecture, it's a documentary of the self, a narrative that mirrors how we, as humans, think, learn, and grow. As Locke himself might say, our understanding is derived from experience, so let us experience this together, step by step, with practical examples from everyday life, historical anecdotes, and deep philosophical reflections. Prepare to see your own mind anew, for in Locke's words, all ideas come from sensation or reflection, from experience, that all our knowledge is founded, and from that it ultimately derives itself. Let us begin at the beginning, the moment of birth, where Locke posits the mind as a tabula rasa, a Latin term meaning blank slate or white paper. Though Locke doesn't use the phrase verbatim in his essay, he vividly describes it. Let us then suppose the mind to be, as we say, white paper, void of all characters, without any ideas. How comes it to be furnished? Whence comes it by that vast store? From experience. This revolutionary idea challenges the ancient notion of innate knowledge held by philosophers like Plato and Descartes, who believed certain truths, such as mathematical axioms or moral principles, were etched into our souls from birth. Picture a child entering the world, eyes wide, senses awakening. According to Locke, this infant brings no preconceived ideas, no inborn wisdom. If we will attentively consider newborn children, we shall have little reason to think that they bring many ideas into the world with them. Instead, the mind is a receptive vessel ready to be filled by the impressions of the external world. Locke refutes innate principles in Book 1 of his essay, arguing that if ideas were truly innate, they would be universally agreed upon from infancy, yet we see children learning concepts like sweet or cold only through direct encounter. Consider a practical example, a baby tasting honey for the first time. The sweetness isn't an innate idea, it's born from the sensation on the tongue. Locke extends this even to the womb, suggesting faint ideas might form there, but they are far from innate principles. Though it be reasonable to imagine that children receive some ideas before they come into the world, yet these simple ideas are far from those innate principles. This blank slate metaphor inspires us to view human potential as limitless, shaped not by destiny, but by the richness of life's encounters. Philosophically, this shifts our understanding of humanity. If the mind starts empty, then differences in intellect or character arise from varying experiences, not divine predetermination. It's a democratizing force. Everyone begins equal, a canvas awaiting the brushstrokes of sensation. Yet it also raises questions. What if the slate is marred by poor experiences? We'll explore that later. For now, embrace the wonder. Your mind, once blank, is now a tapestry woven from every sight, sound, and touch you've known. Locke, in Book 2 of his essay, unveils the mechanics of how this blank slate becomes inscribed. All knowledge, he asserts, springs from two sources, sensation and reflection. All ideas come from sensation or reflection, from experience. Sensation is the gateway, the mind's reception of external stimuli through the five senses. First, our senses, conversant about particular sensible objects, do convey into the mind several distinct perceptions of things. Reflection, meanwhile, is the mind's internal workshop, where it observes and manipulates those sensory inputs. The other fountain is the perception of the operations of our own mind within us. Imagine walking through a forest. Sensation delivers the crunch of leaves underfoot, the scent of pine, the chill of the wind. These are raw data points entering your mind. Reflection then kicks in. You ponder why the leaves fall in autumn, recall a childhood memory of similar woods, or analyze the emotion of peace it evokes. Locke emphasizes this duality. These two external material things as the objects of sensation and the operations of our own minds within as the objects of reflection are to me the only originals from whence all our ideas take their beginnings. This process is a journey of growth. Take learning to ride a bicycle. Sensation provides the feel of balance, the wind on your face, the pain of a fall. Reflection allows you to adjust. Last time I leaned too far, now I'll center my weight. Over time, experience accumulates, forging expertise. Locke uses analogies like a mirror. The mind cannot refuse or alter sensory impressions, much like a mirror reflects images without choice. Philosophically, this empiricism empowers us. Knowledge isn't bestowed by gods or fate, it's earned through engagement with the world. It explains why travelers often seem wiser, their experiences are broader, yet reflection adds depth. Without it, sensations are fleeting. Think of a musician composing a symphony, not just hearing notes, but reflecting on harmony, emotion, and structure. This interplay shapes not just intellect, but character, turning raw experience into profound wisdom. Locke delves deeper in Book 2, distinguishing between simple and complex ideas, the passive receipts and active constructions of the mind. Simple ideas are the atoms of thought, received involuntarily through sensation or reflection. They are uncompounded, indivisible. Yellow, white, heat, cold, soft, hard, bitter, sweet. The mind can no more refuse to have, nor alter when they are imprinted, nor blot them out and make new ones itself, than a mirror can refuse, alter, or obliterate the images. Examples abound. The simple idea of red from seeing a rose or pain from a thorn's prick. These are pure direct imprints. Locke categorizes qualities into primary, inherent in objects, like shape or motion, and secondary, dependent on the observer, like color or taste. Secondary qualities are powers to produce various sensations in us. Thus, the rose's redness isn't in the flower, but in how light interacts with our eyes. Complex ideas, however, showcase the mind's agency. They are compounds, forged by combining, comparing, or abstracting simple ideas. Beauty, gratitude, a man, an army, the universe. The mind repeats and adds. By repeating this idea in our minds and adding the repetitions together, we come by the complex ideas of the modes of it. For instance, the complex idea of apple merges simple ideas of red, color, round, shape, sweet, taste, and firm, texture. This distinction is philosophically rich. Simple ideas ground us in reality, less prone to error, while complex ideas like justice or democracy are human inventions more susceptible to misconstruction. Consider building a house. Simple ideas are bricks, color, weight. Complex is the blueprint, design, function. Errors in complex ideas explain societal conflicts. Differing notions of freedom stem from varied combinations of experiences. In daily life, this fosters creativity. An inventor like Thomas Edison combined simple ideas of light and heat into the complex filament bulb. Locke warns, though, complex ideas of substances are an unknown support of qualities, reminding us of knowledge's limits. We perceive qualities, not essences. Locke's empiricism has profound implications for education, though not explicitly a treatise on it. since the mind is a blank slate. Children, when they come first into it, are surrounded with a world of new things, which, by a constant solicitation of their senses, draw the mind constantly to them. Environment and education fill this void, developing critical thinking by providing rich, varied experiences. He cautions against harmful associations. Many children, imputing the pain they endured at school to their books they were corrected for, so join those ideas together that a book becomes their aversion. Instead, educators should foster positive connections. Practical example: teaching math not through rote memorization, but sensory play, counting apples, reflecting on patterns. Locke implies those who have children, or the charge of their education, would think it worth their while diligently to watch and carefully to prevent the undue connection of ideas in the minds of young people. Environment matters equally. A child in a vibrant city learns urban complexity, one in nature, ecological harmony. This shapes critical thinking, questioning, analyzing, innovating. Philosophically, it promotes equality. With proper education, anyone can achieve greatness. Think of Helen Keller, whose mind, though deprived of sight and sound, bloomed through tactile experiences and reflection. In modern terms, Locke's ideas echo progressive education, like Montessori methods, emphasizing experiential learning. The psychological tendency to associate ideas through experience has important implications for the education of children. Yet, it warns of environmental pitfalls. Poverty or trauma can distort the slate, hindering growth. Thus, society bears responsibility to provide equitable experiences, turning blank slates into masterpieces of thought. Locke links knowledge to human agency in Book 2 and a V, where knowledge is the perception of the agreement or disagreement of our own ideas. This perception enables freedom. Informed choices liberate us from ignorance's chains. In Chapter 21 on liberty and necessity, Locke revises his views, emphasizing consciousness. Personal identity consists not in the identity of substance, but in the identity of consciousness. Freedom arises from knowledge. Knowing options allows willful action. Responsibility follows. With understanding, we are accountable. Example: a doctor with medical knowledge bears responsibility for decisions. Ignorance excuses, but willful neglect does not. Philosophically, this underpins Locke's political theory. Enlightened citizens ensure just governance. In daily life, consider environmental activism. Knowledge of climate change, from sensory data and reflection, frees us to act responsibly, reducing carbon footprints. Locke warns of necessity. Without knowledge, we're puppets of circumstance. Yet true freedom is reflective, pausing to weigh ideas before acting. This triad inspires ethical growth. As knowledge expands, so does our capacity for responsible freedom, fostering a society of thoughtful individuals. While Locke's ideas revolutionized thought, they face critiques. Foremost, the Tabula Rasa is seen as overly simplistic, ignoring innate structures. Plato countered with his theory of forms, arguing eternal truths are recollected, not learned anew. Kant critiqued empiricism for overlooking a priori categories, like space and time, that organize experience. Modern science amplifies this. Genetics and neuroscience reveal innate predispositions, such as language acquisition, Chomsky's universal grammar, or instincts like fear responses. Critics suggest that the tabula rasa idea is overly simplistic, failing to account for genetic influences. Romantic poets like Wordsworth rejected it, favoring innate imagination. Another critique: empiricism's potential unempiricism. Locke's dismissal of innate ideas assumes observation, yet overlooks nuances in a priori knowledge. Hobbes contrasted with inherent mental content. Philosophically, it risks relativism. If all from experience, is truth subjective? These critiques enrich Locke's legacy, prompting synthesis, perhaps a hybrid of innate frameworks filled by experience. Locke's essay remains vital. In psychology, it influences behaviorism and personal identity theories. John Locke holds that personal identity is a matter of psychological continuity. Modern therapies use reflection to reshape ideas, echoing his empiricism. In education, it underpins experiential learning. It provides a philosophy with which schools can develop curriculum, promote pedagogies, and enact policies that value the experiences of children. Progressive educators like Dewey draw from Locke, viewing minds as blank slates shaped by environment. Philosophically, it fuels empiricism in science and AI. Machines learn from data, mimicking tabula rasa. In ethics, it informs debates on responsibility in an informed age. As our journey ends, reflect. Your mind, once a blank slate, is now etched with experiences. Locke's vision reminds us, knowledge is a lifelong quest, granting freedom and demanding responsibility. Embrace it, for in understanding ourselves, we unlock humanity's potential. Thank you for traveling with me. Locke's Tabula Rasa wasn't born in vacuum. Born in 1632 amid England's turmoil, he drew from empirical science of his time, Galileo, Boyle. Rejecting Cartesian innatism, he argued in Bookverein, there is nothing more commonly taken for granted than that there are certain principles universally agreed upon by all mankind. But I think it is beyond question that man has no innate principles. Philosophical depth. This liberates from dogma, but implies vulnerability. Bad experiences can corrupt. Dear audience, imagine for a moment that you are standing at the threshold of your own mind, a vast, uncharted territory waiting to be explored. Today, we embark on an inspiring philosophical journey, guided by the wisdom of John Locke, whose An Essay Concerning Human Understanding serves as our compass. Published in 1689, this masterpiece challenges us to see the human mind not as a repository of preordained truths, but as a dynamic canvas shaped by the strokes of experience and knowledge. Locke, a 17th-century English philosopher, physician, and political thinker, lived in an era of scientific revolution, influenced by figures like Francis Bacon and Isaac Newton. His empiricist philosophy rejects the idea of innate knowledge, proposing instead that we are born with minds like blank slates, ready to be inscribed by the world around us. This script is structured as a documentary lecture, taking you through the key aspects of Locke's theory. The mind as tabula rasa, the formation of knowledge through experience and reflection, the distinction between simple and complex ideas, the crucial role of education and environment in fostering critical thinking, the interplay between knowledge, freedom, and responsibility, and finally, the critiques and modern relevance of his ideas. We'll weave in practical examples from everyday life, historical anecdotes, and philosophical musings to make this a living, breathing exploration. Think of it as a personal voyage, how your own thoughts, memories, and growth have been molded by the experiences you've encountered. As Locke writes, all our knowledge is founded in experience, and from that it ultimately derives itself. Let us begin. At the heart of Locke's philosophy is the concept of the mind as a tabula rasa, a blank slate or white paper, devoid of any innate ideas or principles at birth. In Book 2 of his essay, Locke paints this picture vividly. Let us then suppose the mind to be, as we say, white paper, void of all characters, without any ideas. How comes it to be furnished? Whence comes it by that vast store which the busy and boundless fancy of man has painted on it with an almost endless variety? To this I answer in one word: from experience. This idea, though not originally Locke's, he borrows from Aristotle and medieval thinkers, becomes the cornerstone of his empiricism in Books the One and the Two, where he systematically dismantles the doctrine of innate ideas. Why is this so revolutionary? For centuries, philosophers like Plato argued that knowledge is recollection of eternal forms imprinted on the soul, or Descartes claimed certain ideas, like the concept of God or basic mathematics, are innate. Locke counters this in Book Why, observing newborns and children. If we will attentively consider newborn children, we shall have little reason to think that they bring many ideas into the world with them. He points out that if ideas were innate, they would be universal and immediate, yet we see children learning concepts like sweetness or pain only through direct interaction. Even in the womb, Locke concedes some faint impressions might occur, but these are far from those innate principles which are supposed to be stamped upon the mind from its very entrance into the world. Let's bring this to life with a practical example. Consider a child born in a quiet rural village versus one in a bustling city. The rural child might first encounter the idea of green from fields, quiet from nights, forming a mind attuned to nature's rhythms. The urban child, surrounded by honking cars and neon lights, learns noise and color variety early on. Neither brings these ideas innately. They are etched by environment. Historically, Locke drew from observations of indigenous peoples and travelers' accounts, arguing differences in belief systems stem from varied experiences, not inborn truths. Philosophically, the Tabula Rasa inspires hope and equality. It suggests human potential is not fixed by birth but expandable through engagement, yet it also evokes vulnerability. What if the slate is filled with negativity? Locke warns of this, noting how early impressions last. The mind receiving the ideas mentioned in the foregoing chapters from sensation or reflection takes from thence other ideas, which are as capable to be the objects of its contemplation as any of those it received from foreign things. This sets the stage for our journey. If the mind starts blank, how does it fill with knowledge? From the blank slate, knowledge emerges not from divine revelation or internal intuition, but from experience, divided into sensation and reflection. In Book 2, Locke describes these as the two fountains of ideas. All ideas come from sensation or reflection. Let us then suppose the mind to have no ideas. How comes it to be furnished? From experience, in that all our knowledge is founded, and from that it ultimately derives itself. Our observation employed either about external sensible objects or about the internal operations of our minds perceived and reflected on by ourselves is that which supplies our understandings with all the materials of thinking. Sensation is the first fountain, the passive intake through the senses. First, our senses, conversant about particular sensible objects, do convey into the mind several distinct perceptions of things, according to those various ways wherein those objects do affect them. Reflection is the second active process. The other fountain from which experience furnisheth the understanding with ideas is the perception of the operations of our own mind within us, as it is employed about the ideas it has got. To illustrate, let's take a simple, everyday experience: eating an apple. Sensation delivers the red color to your eyes, the crisp crunch to your ears, the sweet tart taste to your tongue, the smooth texture to your fingers, and the fresh scent to your nose. These are raw inputs, imprinting on the blank slate. Reflection then engages. You think, "This reminds me of childhood picnics," or "Why is this apple sweeter than yesterday's?" Or even, "How does the tree produce such fruit?" Through reflection, sensation becomes knowledge, understanding nutrition, agriculture, or personal preferences. Historically, Locke's ideas echoed the scientific method of his time. Newton observed falling apples, sensation, and reflected on gravity. Practically, consider learning a language. Sensation hears words. Reflection connects them to meanings, grammar, emotions. Without reflection, experiences are forgotten. Without sensation, reflection has no material. Locke uses the analogy of a cabinet. The mind stores sensory furniture, then arranges it through reflection. Philosophically, this process is empowering. It makes knowledge accessible to all who engage the world. It explains genius not as gift, but as intense experience, like Einstein's thought experiments reflecting on light. But it also highlights limits. The impressions then that are made on our sense by outward objects that are extrinsical to the mind, and its own operations about these impressions, reflected on by itself, are, I conceive, the original of all knowledge. Our journey continues. These ideas aren't uniform. They come in simple and complex forms. Locke classifies ideas into simple and complex, revealing the mind's passive and active roles. Simple ideas are basic, indivisible units received passively. Simple ideas are such as the mind can have of each sort but one, and the mind cannot make one to itself, nor have any idea which does not wholly consist of them. Examples include yellow, white, heat, cold, soft, hard, bitter, sweet. The mind can't invent them. They come from sensation or reflection, like a mirror reflecting images. The understanding can no more refuse to have, nor alter when they are imprinted, nor blot them out and make new ones itself, than a mirror can refuse, alter, or obliterate the images or ideas which the objects set before it do therein produce. Locke divides qualities: primary, shape, motion, objective, and secondary, color, taste, subjective. Qualities thus considered in bodies are, first, such as are utterly inseparable from the body. These I call original or primary qualities of body, which I think we may observe to produce simple ideas in us, viz. Solidity, extension, figure, motion or rest, and number. Secondly, such qualities which in truth are nothing in the objects themselves, but powers to produce various sensations in us by their primary qualities. Complex ideas are constructed actively. Ideas thus made up of several simple ones put together, I call complex, such as are beauty, gratitude, a man, an army, the universe. The mind combines, e.g., gold as yellow plus malleable, compares, e.g., larger than, or abstracts, e.g., humanity from individuals. By repeating this idea in our minds and adding the repetitions together, we come by the complex ideas of the modes of it. Practical example: the simple idea of round from a ball, red from blood, combine into the complex apple. In art, a painter uses simple colors to create complex landscapes. Historically, this influenced chemistry. Atoms, simple, form molecules, complex. Philosophically, simple ideas are reliable, complex prone to error. Complex ideas are much more liable to be false, especially mixed modes, much more than those of substances. This explains misconceptions, like varying ideas of justice. The mind's creativity is a journey from basics to abstractions, fostering innovation, but demanding vigilance. Given the tabula rasa, education and environment are pivotal in developing critical thinking. Locke implies this throughout, noting, children, when they come first into it, are surrounded with a world of new things which, by a constant solicitation of their senses, draw the mind constantly to them. He warns of associations, for such who are careful to principle children well, instill into the unwary and as yet unprejudiced understanding, for white paper receives any characters. Environment shapes the slate. A stimulating home with books and nature encourages curiosity. A deprived one stifles it. Education should provide varied sensations and encourage reflection. Those who have children, or the charge of their education, would think it worth their while diligently to watch and carefully to prevent the undue connection of ideas in the minds of young people. This is the time most susceptible of lasting impressions. Practical example: a teacher using hands-on science, students touch magnets, sensation, reflect on attraction, for critical thinking. Historical: Locke's Some Thoughts. Concerning education, extends this, advocating gentle, experiential learning. Philosophically, it promotes social justice. Equitable environments yield better thinkers. Modern implication: the psychological tendency to associate ideas through experience has important implications for the education of children. Environment isn't fate but opportunity for growth. Knowledge enables freedom and imposes responsibility. In Book 4, knowledge is the perception of the agreement or disagreement of our own ideas, with degrees. intuitive, immediate, certain, demonstrative, reasoned, sensitive, external. In Book 2, Chapter 21, Locke ties liberty to will. Personal identity consists not in the identity of substance, but, as I have said, in the identity of consciousness. Freedom is choosing based on knowledge. Ignorance binds us. Responsibility follows. Knowing harm makes us accountable. Example: a driver knowing texting distracts is responsible for accidents. Historically, this influenced Locke's two treatises of government. Informed citizens are free. Philosophically, it's a call to moral growth. What I had there written concerning liberty and the will, I thought deserved as accurate a view as I am capable of. Critiques abound. Plato's forms and Kant's a priori categories challenge tabula rasa. Rejecting the idea of innatism with his concept of tabula rasa, Locke argues against Plato's view that the human mind knows. Modern science highlights genetics. Critics suggest that the tabula rasa idea is overly simplistic, failing to account for genetic influences. Chomsky's language innatism, instincts like fear, contradict pure empiricism. The difficulty with this empirical, anti-nativist thesis is how it conveniently overlooks Locke's nuance in critiquing a priori categories. Romantic poets rejected it for innate creativity. These push for hybrid models. Locke's ideas resonate in psychology, behaviorism, identity. John Locke holds that personal identity is a matter of psychological continuity. Education, experiential curricula. It provides a philosophy with which schools can develop curriculum. Philosophy, empiricism influencing Hume. In AI, machines learn from data like blank slates. Locke's monumental an essay. Concerning human understanding is one of the first great defenses of modern empiricism. Conclusion: as we conclude this journey, remember, your mind, shaped by experience, holds infinite potential. Let Locke's wisdom inspire you to seek knowledge, embrace freedom, and bear responsibility. Thank you. End music, triumphant close, fade out.